why? Why do we believe
Carl
that?
Morris, Europe's leading performance coach, is back. And boy, did I enjoy this one.
I've heard this on decent authority that when he won the US Open, Rory was dividing the course up into...
We all love drills and wisdom from the very best in the game, and especially to those who have coached major winners. I laughed at first when Carl showed me some of these concepts today, but yeah, it's safe to say I'll be using them as I near my Open qualifying, and 1000% you should too. God, I love this.
Carl, scorecard pressure, it's a big one.
Huge.
I've got a few scenarios that I've sort of played out my mind here. We've bogeyed the first, we've tripled the second, we've got 1 point after 2. 18 holes then seems like an absolute monumental task. And you hear the top pros go, okay, like sort of got to reset. And very often, sometimes they start with a bogey and they shoot like 5 or 6 under. Most club golfers, I'm going to put myself in this category, it just gets worse.
It's a little bit like you start running a marathon and you're absolutely shattered after 2 miles and the finish line can seem miles away. That's the problem. Alex. We get off to a bad start, as we often do, you know, especially if you haven't played golf for a while, you've not been able to play through the week or practice, you start badly. That clubhouse is a million miles away. It's all about the perspective on the game. We're led to believe that golf is 18 holes made up of 2 sets of 9, but why? Why do we believe that? It's something that's just been given to us. One of the games that has proved really popular with a lot of players I've worked with, especially a couple of tour players, is instead of seeing golf as 18 holes, 2 sets of 9, let's change the game. And I call it Super 6.
Okay.
Now, Super 6 is where you'd play, and you can mark it on your scorecard, you're going to play 6 sets of 3 holes. So your job is in effect to play 6 games.
Okay.
You play the first game, first set of 3, you're either going to win it or lose it. But the thing is, mentally, once you've played those 3 holes, that's done. We start again. Our brain loves the idea of a fresh start or a new beginning. It's like in football, you know, how often does a game change from one half to the other? But with golf, if we start badly and with another 15 or 16 to play, the brain really struggles with that.
Yeah.
Super 6, 3 holes, reset, go again.
Because I often hear people go, oh, when I get to 9, when I get to the 10th, I'll start again. It'll be my game on the back 9.
Exactly. Well, start again earlier.
So just thinking about how I could do that for and explain this to everybody, is it fair to say like we could just draw a line under every 3 holes
Absolutely.
On the card?
Do it visually on your card. So before you go out to play, you know, you could put a box around each set of 3 holes. And, you know, people play different games within that. Some play match play against the course for 3 holes. You know, you're either up or down on those 3 holes. Some will give themselves a bit of a target on 3 holes. So you can use lots of variations on it. But the key thing, Alex, is that you have 6 different games to play instead of just one big game that can overwhelm you.
It's interesting. Like I wonder if someone like Rory maybe would have done this. Because
I believe, and I've heard this on decent authority, that when he won the US Open, Rory was dividing the course up into 6 sets of 3 holes. So I think if somebody at that level, and you know, with tour players, it's about how they have the perspective to be able to reset. And the recent Masters was a perfect example. You know, he hit some poor shots, but my goodness, he reset and got back on track.
It was quite apparent that, wasn't it, how he reset, got back on track. So, I mean, I would think, especially when he got to the 10th and he got through that, he was like, oh, I've got through that one. But it's interesting how I guess a younger Rory would have been like, poof, wheels off, gone. And that was the case first time round at Masters when he was in that position to be able to win.
The ability to reset, Alex, is a capacity to develop. Because the reality of the game is, and just as we've said with Rory, the best player in the world there hit some really poor shots. But it wasn't the poor shot that was the issue, it was his reaction to the poor shot. And his reaction to the poor shot was outstanding.
And would it be safe to say, even if you had a set of 3 brilliant holes, not to get too ahead of yourself and think, oh, I'm onto a great game today, but still reset?
It does also work on the upside. If you've got a really good score going, what a lot of people do, they'll get to say 12, 13, there may be a couple under the handicap, and then they start trying to protect that score. With Super 6, you keep going forwards. You've got your next set of 3, can I win the next set of 3? So all of a sudden then you could keep going forward, and instead of trying to hang on to a score, you pursue an even better one.
Interesting. We're actually on the 14th hole here. I've got another question that sprung to my mind. Let's do this one from the fairway. Okay, Carl, I'm feeling good after last time. I've been using that idea of trying to hit that sort of goal in front of me, and that's literally all I think about on the tee. So I'm going to do that one here, and then we'll jump down this fairway, and we will get to work on the second thing. And I'm quite excited for everybody because I think there's a lot we can learn here. Whew. Well,
perfect.
That will play.
That was right through the middle of the goalpost there, Alex.
Literally all I was doing is looking right there.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? When I call it shrinking your world. When you shrink your world to what's just in front of you, well, the danger out there, yes, it's there. We can't make it go away. But if the task is here, if our job is to just thread it through those goalposts just in front of you, your brain says, "Yeah, I can do this," and it calms down.
It really does. Now, Carl, this is the second scenario I want to talk through because this is like so many holes that a lot of people will face. An approach shot with 2 bunkers, what looks like a raised green over a little bit of a dip where the golfer goes, and I'm saying this because this is what I do sometimes, like, yeah, I can't afford to land this short. So it almost puts more pressure on delivering a better strike. And then we maybe try too hard.
Yeah. And again, it's all about the perspective of the task, Alex. So if you look here, yeah, it looks difficult. Big bunker on the right, bunker left, not much space. But if we change the perspective of what the task is, remember in the other video when we talked about that golden principle for hitting more greens, that we aim middle of the green to a back yardage.
Okay.
So first thing I would say is get the back yardage here.
Okay.
So we're going in at just take the yardage to the flag first of all.
So yardage to flag, Carl, is 144.
Right, so we can add at least 10 onto that.
Should we say 155?
155. So calculate at 155. And then for me, the key thing here, Alex, is I call it create the channel, where you're actually looking at the green. The flag is completely irrelevant.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're actually creating a channel in your mind's eye in the middle of the green there, where you feel like you're feeding the ball into that channel. So in effect, it becomes a different task. It's a different hole now. And
is this safe to say when you hear the commentators on TV saying he's playing away from the flag? So you often think when you're playing well, you feel like dynamite, I can go at every flag, and then before you know it, you make a double. And then in a scenario like this, it becomes really tough because it looks like there's so much jeopardy. So you're basically saying no matter what the task is, how you're playing, just feed the channel. Feed the channel,
feed it into the channel. And the thing is with that, Alex, it's all right saying play away from the flag, but unless you create a real clear channel, your brain, it's almost like it's hypnotic. The flag is hypnotic to our brain, and even in your swing, it can make that last minute move towards the flag. But if you've got that really clear, distinct channel, your brain then starts to want to feed it towards it.
You have seen how much Carl has helped me with my game, and I know the comments go crazy every time we have Carl on the channel. So I asked Carl, is there any way we give something back to you to say thank you for all the support? Carl said yes, being the nice guy he is. He's giving you all a free trial on his app right now. And also you can get 40% off a yearly subscription. Just simply, if you're a viewer of this video and a subscriber, click the link down below and use my code. Big shout out for Carl for this one.
And how do I so I'm looking at this now, is there any little tips you can give me and everybody watching where would help me visualize that? Say I'm not a visual person, what's the best way for me to do that?
Yeah, well what you can do is you can create the channel out in the distance, or you could create the channels we talked about before just in front of you. So for some people, this task would be a lot easier, just like we did off the tee previously, where you create the channel just in front of you here.
Okay,
so it's less about that.
Okay, so I think for me, based on how successful off the tee's been, I'm just going to think about 2 little channels like this here.
Perfect.
And all I'm going to focus on is that.
Now your brain says, I can do that, I can do this task, I can thread it through something just in front of me. So what you're seeing out in the distance now becomes less important.
Okay, so
we've got to remember with all this, Alex, is that it's all about how our brain perceives a task.
Yeah.
If our brain perceives a task as being difficult, we'll tighten up.
Yeah.
If our brain perceives a task as being relatively easy, there's a bit more freedom there.
And just going back to that point, that's definitely what I found in the last 2 months, 2.5 months since we last spoke, where even if I've got a tough shot, I've pulled on these little nuggets of information, which to some people will seem like surface level. Of course it's obvious, but we don't do it.
It's called the elusive obvious.
Yeah.
It's so obvious we don't do it. But actually when it makes sense to our brain, remember, this is a big one, is your brain is always going to see things as either an opportunity or a threat.
Yeah.
And if it's an opportunity, the way we move is very different than if it's a threat. Now, looking at this, it looks like a real threat. Big bunker to the right, bunker to the left, don't miss it. All of a sudden, I'm now responding differently. However, if you just create your channel in front of you, you know that's not a threat because you can achieve that.
Right, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to have a practice swings. And for me, what I do off the tee for everybody, I really think about and just look at that channel whenever, and I'm just making those swings. The ball doesn't know what I'm doing, does it? No. All the ball knows is an impact, so I'm just going to control that channel. Just there. Here we go. That was ripped.
Really nice, Alex, that. Now you fed it down, right down the centre of that middle channel that we talked about.
And I'm on the back edge.
Perfect. No, you've negotiated what is a tough hole. There was a former Ryder Cup captain, people will remember the name, Hal Sutton. He was a guest on my podcast, and I remember one of the things that he said that's really stuck with me. He said when he was really under pressure in big events, big tournaments, and he closed out some huge tournaments, he said what he used to do was shrink the world in the sense that if it was all about the tournament, it became too big. You know, I've got to try and beat Jack Nicklaus, I've got to try and beat Tom Watson, that's too big. But shrinking the world, things like we're talking about, he just shrunk it down to, can I send a ball over this spot just in front of me?
That's all I did then.
You shrunk the world then.
I like that idea of shrinking the world. And I think that is quite apparent something that I could do. Like, I've told everybody I'm doing open qualifying, which is a little bit of pressure, so the world seems pretty much like, oh, how are you going to do? But I can just shrink it and go each shot at a time, first 3 holes, next 3 holes, well, you see, down the channel.
If your brain tries to get its head around qualifying for the Open, it's just enormous, and and this is for everybody. Enormous could be breaking 100 for the first time.
Yeah. Enormous
can be winning your club championship. Enormous can be winning a major. It's different for everybody. But what you can do is start to say, how many channels did I hit? Now, if you keep hitting channels, you'll keep hitting fairways. If you keep hitting fairways, you'll keep hitting greens. Now, guess what? That's not a bad formula to qualify for the Open.
This gets me excited. Let's jump to the green. Okay, Carl, I'm just going to cozy this one up after that nice approach shot in here, because there's a story that I hear people ask all the time. Whew, that's actually a really nice putt.
Pretty good, we'll take that.
And just a little point on that, my second practice stroke now is with my eyes closed.
Right.
After what we said.
So you start to feel feel the distance better. Yeah.
So not necessarily this length of putt, but I hear this all the time.
Yeah.
If I miss a short one on the first,
yeah,
and then I miss it on the second, I'm then into that whole mentality of, right, it's not my day on these, I'm never going to hole any of them.
So what you're talking about, Alex, is doubt.
Yeah, 100%.
Doubt is starting to creep into your mind, and as we all experience, when we're in the presence of doubt, then that affects the way that we move the putter. So here's an interesting one. I call it the no doubt putt.
Okay.
All right, so would you say at this point there would be some doubt whether you could hole it?
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, for everybody. We can't guarantee this. I don't know what the PGA statistics are from 4 feet, but it's not 100%, is it?
No.
Okay. Would there be some doubt from here?
I would say yeah, still.
Yeah, I would definitely be with you on that.
I'm going to say
we're right on the we're right
on the. Want to say no, but
we're right on the edge of doubt. Well, I'll make it easy for you. Okay. Would you have any doubt that you could miss that?
No. Some people might say yes still, but no.
But even if we go a little bit nearer, we're pretty much in the you know, you could put the worst stroke on it in your entire life.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to hold that. So just knock that one in for me. Not the no doubt putt in. Okay. So what would you say that distance was roughly there?
7 inches.
So let's even go a bit closer. Let's go 6 inches is the no doubt putt.
Okay.
Right. So let's come back to where you were.
Which is roughly here.
Okay. Now what you can start to do, instead of getting obsessed about this bit here, which there is some doubt, A great way, a great image I've found for people on short putts is to create what I call the no doubt putt.
Okay.
And the no doubt putt would be a little bit like we've talked about shrinking the world and changing the perspective. Your job, and you'd obviously put the coin or the image of the coin on the line, your job here is to firmly hold the no doubt putt.
Okay.
So you're focusing on this bit here,
Yeah.
instead of what may or may not happen there.
Okay. And just to play this out a little bit, if it was a right to left putt, would I move that then?
Absolutely.
Just here, left to right putt here?
You adjust the no doubt putt, slightly right or slightly left, there's a little bit of break, but all of a sudden, your job, your task now is to hold the no doubt putt just in front of you.
And does that come back to what you were saying on that approach shot about having the freedom, being relaxed, being in the shot? As soon as you've got tension, as soon as you've got fear, you don't make the stroke you're capable of.
Exactly. I mean, the other thing that's beneficial with the no doubt putt is classically what do we do on short putts? We're actually wanting to see the outcome before we've even hit it.
Yeah.
Again, bringing the task a little bit nearer to us here, we tend to stay with the task and stay in the putt a little bit longer. So from a technique perspective, what your attention is on affects the way that you move the putter.
Okay.
You know, I've seen guys, I used to see it on tour all the time, I'd see guys with the caddies would be on the putting green holding the head in place. Well, if somebody's holding your head, you're not gonna move. And then as soon as they get on the golf course, they start moving off putts because it's where your attention goes.
Yeah.
If your attention is on, have I hold a 4-footer or not, then we get a bit jumpy. If our attention is, can I hold the no doubt putt, now the world has shrunk to that.
Okay, I'm going to imagine that on this.
So you imagine that, you've got a clear image, you just pick a spot on the green. Your job is to hold the no doubt putt. And perfect. And the beauty of it is, Alex, is what if you're trying to hold the no doubt putt, you actually put a relatively firm stroke on it.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I would decel into that.
No, exactly.
I felt like I was always positive because I was like, right, okay, firmly hit that because I felt confident enough to hit that.
Exactly, and then that gives you appropriate pace for the 4-5 footer.
Well, I'm feeling a lot more prepared now, Carl. Thanks for that.
There's no doubt.
So there's 3 little tricks, little hints from an absolute expert that I'm going to use and I know you should be using in your game. Thanks for watching.